Hello Sangha, welcome to the Abbots Address. Today is Friday, November 4th, 2016. So the next question that has come in is asking for some clarification on this business of Sangha members, asking for other Sangha members or myself as the Abbot or a priest to keep one in one's intentions. Keep me in your intentions. So kind of an equivalent of the pray for me, keep me in your intentions, sending thoughts and prayers, all that kind of stuff, see? And it happens a lot on the Facebook feed that we have for the community, where community members can post things. There's all kinds of posts about, my mom's going in for surgery, please keep her in your intentions, or send prayers, that kind of stuff. And so the question is, what is that, or how does that work, or is it true, or is this just all, what is this? What's the deal with it? See, is there special ways it's supposed to work, or does it work? All that stuff. So it's important to have a couple of things in mind. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think about this is that it's important that we do not claim to know things that we do not know. Okay, that's the first thing. I don't claim to know something that I totally really don't know. That's really important. So Zen mind, beginner's mind, and not knowing and all that stuff. But there are a few things that I can say that I do know about this, and it's important. I think they're very important. The first is that I know that when someone asks me to keep them or their loved ones or some certain situation in my intentions or prayers or meditations or whatever, however they phrase it, what I do is I actually have a book and I write these things down. And throughout the day, at the end of the day, I might, when I'm at home and offering incense at the altar before I go to bed, I might jot down any situations that occurred that day or things that I'm aware of that I think deserve some concern, some care, some attention, they're noteworthy to me, and including things people have asked me about to keep in their intentions. And I have that book, and it's getting big, but that's a meaningful ritual for me. So I know that I respond to those things, and that helps me in my practice to call those things to mind, to hold them in my heart, and to make the intention that some relief to the difficulty comes. May they be at ease, may they be at peace, may they find their way, may they come to full and complete awakening and enlightenment. And after all, that ties in directly with the core bodhisattva vow of may all beings come to complete Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. That's what it's about, right? So I know that for me is a very nourishing practice, and it's an important one. And I consider it invaluable to me because I know how I feel when I think that way, when I react that way, when I follow through on that intent, and just for a moment, for a second, call those folks to mind and hold them, and to truly wish them well, and to truly wish them the best of things. And so what does that do? Well, that gives me a mental framework in my own experience of caring, of connection, of community, of shared experience. And it also gives me some sense of being able to respond in a way, to keep my heart open and to be connected. So there's a lot of things that we just know there's not much we can actually do about them physically. But we can hold that intent, and that creates a kind and compassionate heart. A heart that is not siloed and doesn't care about other things, but actually makes space for the difficulties that others are facing. Now I know how it feels for me when I'm on the receiving end of that. I mean, when I ask people to, keep me in their intentions, it nourishes me to know that people do that and that they follow through on that. And people are regularly holding me in some kind of a way in their intentions, that I might be well, that I might be at ease, that I might follow through on my vows might be completely realized, and all this kind of stuff. I know how that feels, see. Now, it feels very caring, and it's a nice thing. It helps my practice to know that that's going on. See, so if I go back to not asserting myself to know things I don't know. Well, one thing is I don't actually know. Does this literally move the needle on the outcome of the surgery? Does this actually change the trajectory of the karmic forces? Now, I don't literally know that it does. I do know that I don't know that it doesn't. Okay? So that razor cuts both sides of the equation. I don't factually know definitively that it has no effect, any more than I know definitively that it always has a positive effect. What I do know is how it feels for me when I hold those intentions, and I do know how it feels to me when I'm being held with intention. And I also know how it feels to others. People report out that it feels very affirming and nourishing and community building to be aware of each other's difficulties and to hold them in our hearts. See. Now, I do know another thing that I know is that I know that the tradition is steeped and saturated in the practice of making intentions like this. These intentions are received and subtly answered, says the tradition, says the wisdom of the ancestors. And I really trust that. I really like that it says received and subtly answered. I mean, I do know the tradition teaches this way, and I do know that I've been deeply nourished by that specific phrase for many years. And I take some comfort and some solace and some nourishment in the feeling that in some way that this intention that may the world be at ease, may people be at ease, may these particular people who've asked for particular awarenesses that I commit to, may they be as they've asked for. I take some comfort and I get some power from the feeling of knowing, feeling, believing that these somehow, in some kind of a way, these intentions are received subtly, responded to. See, so it's not the kind of thing where if I just imagine a Mercedes in my head, then the Mercedes will show up and be mine. It's not like the law of attraction kind of stuff. It's not the same thing as petitioning a deity to change their will about how reality flows. So, like, I'm not praying to God to change the outcome of the diagnosis, because please do. And I'm not assuming that that God is up there like tweaking the controls of the life experience of Grandma and deciding whether or not she lives or not. I don't relate to reality that way. I don't think it works that way. So it's not that. I don't feel it that way. But this subtle, mysterious way that the heartfelt feeling and intention and intention, that in some way does actually get received and does elicit some kind of response that feels really right to me, and it says it the right way, so I think. And frankly, a lot of what the priesthood has to do, at least a good chunk of what the priesthood has to do, is liturgical and ceremonial, holding people in intention and doing chants. I mean, my goodness, if you look at what the life of a typical Soto priest in Japan is like, well, I mean, their days are spent with doing sutra reciting for this one and sutra reciting for that one, and it's Joe's anniversary day, so let's do one for Joe, and on like that. I mean, it's a ton of having intention for other people, and post-mortem intention, the anniversary of a person's passing away at certain intervals, and so on and so on. And that is all the way through the tradition. That's not just a figment of the Japanese Soto sect. I mean, that's something that you find in China and back on into India and so on. It's part of the human experience of this tradition. So for me, again, I'm going to hold up, not asserting to know anything I don't know, which means I don't know that it does work and I don't know that it doesn't work. It's not science-y like that. It's more poetic and mystical in a sense. It's more numinous than that. Is that landscape truly inspiring and transcendent or not? kind of depends on me, how I see it. And so I know that for me in my practice, it's important and valuable and nourishing, and I know that I feel nourished when other people hold me in their intentions, or for the times when I've asked for intentions for various things. And I do know that the tradition itself is steeped in the view that these intentions are in fact received and subtly answered somehow. It's a much more, in my opinion, mature understanding than simply saying it doesn't do anything, it's all bogus, or if you do it the right way, then Buddha will make everything go the way you want. I mean, those are two opposite sides of the same mistake. So right in the center is not knowing and a compassionate, open, and connected heart. So please take it up in the way that makes sense for you. In terms of announcements, Sesshin is afoot, and that's the big project. So if you're at Sesshin, you shouldn't be seeing this, and I'll be there shortly too. And if you're joining in Sesshin this weekend, I can't wait to get in there and do Doksan with you and meet and practice in the great way together. And if you're not able to join into Sesshin this weekend, then I invite you to really kick your practice up a notch as much as you can in whatever way you can this weekend, particularly. And speaking of intentions, let's give the intentions to this election that's coming up. I don't talk a lot about politics directly, but I'll say here that I think it's obvious to everybody that there's a lot of energy and confusion and angst around this whole process and everything that it's been, and let us all hold both candidates and everyone who's involved in this and everyone who'll be impacted by this in our intentions. So sit with that. Thank you, everybody.